You can't tell by looking, but there was once a town here, Jacksonboro, Georgia. For a while, the county seat of Screven County. A bustling, growing industrial little town. Until something happened. It was cursed. Jacksonboro, Georgia was the county seat. A wide open town, filled with the kind of sin that gives any evangelist a heyday. Things moved along quite well until 1821. That's when Lorenzo Dow came to town. Dow was a fiery Methodist evangelist, and he set up a camp meeting at the local church. Things were moving along right well. He was in the middle of the sermon when suddenly a brick came through the window. The lights went out, some shots were fired, and that was the end of Dow's evangelism in Jacksonboro. Now, Dow was not the kind of man to let a battle go unfought, so he took out tooth and nail after the local rowdies that broke up his meeting. He chased them all around town and finally caught up with them in the local saloon. With iron tool in hand, he proceeded to break up every whiskey barrel on the place. Now, the devil had been at home in Jacksonboro for a long time, so the locals didn't take too kindly to having their evening's entertainment ended so abruptly. What was known as a barroom brawl ensued, which ended up with Lorenzo Dow being clamped between two boards and sat upon by about a half a dozen burly men. Bruises, cuts. He would have most likely been killed if a friend of his in town, Seaborn Goodall, hadn't intervened. He picked up Dow and brought him here to his home, where he patched him up, bathed his bruises, and put him to bed. The next morning, Dow woke up refreshed and even more determined to do what he came to Jacksonboro for. He set out, Bible in hand, to encounter the folks he had met the night before. And he didn't have to go too far. They weren't far from the Goodall house waiting for him, armed with rotten eggs, overripe tomatoes, and most likely some rocks or two. They chased him across Jacksonboro to the very edge of town, the wooden bridge over Beaver Dam Creek. There, Dow did a most unusual thing, and from here is where the legend stems. Dow dramatically kicked the dirt from his feet, the way Christ had instructed his apostles to do whenever they were not received well in a town. He turned his face to heaven, raised his hands, and called on God to strike down Jacksonboro the way he had struck down Sodom. There was only one exception in Dow's curse. He asked that Seaborn Goodall's house be spared. Well, within 30 years, most of the buildings in Jacksonboro were nothing more than broken down ruins. The county seat had been moved, and within 40 years of that date, there was nothing left of Jacksonboro except for the Goodall house, which stood more or less unaffected by time. There's not one stick, brick, stone, or board left of Jacksonboro, Georgia, other than this house. It's been partially restored by the Briar Creek chapter of the DAR, but nothing more than some new shutters and a fresh coat of paint. I guess it's a testimony to that section in the Bible that says, if a town receives you not, shake the dust of that town from your shoes, and it will suffer the same fate as Sodom. Outside of Sylvania, Georgia, I'm Andy Johnston.